You read.
Hope Santa, hope Santa, hope Santa, hope, 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 hope.
Come on! The homie with the gun, we bringing hope to the hopeless. Father on rock, we bringing hope to the hopeless. Niggas selling socks, we bringing hope to the hopeless. Hope to the hope, you know it. Hope to the hopeless. The homie with the gun, we bringing hope to the hopeless. Father on rock, we bringing hope to the hopeless. Niggas selling socks, we bringing hope to the hope. We bringing hope to the hope. We bringing
More of what you write down than what you hear. I've come to understand this truth, and write this down if you're writing. The more God uses you publicly, it's the more the enemy will attack you privately. The more God uses you publicly, the more the enemy will attack you privately. Anytime you decide to do something for God, the enemy will put you on their hit list. Anytime you attempt to do something with your life, the enemy will put you on his hit list. The reality is that the devil, the enemy, don't want you to become anything. The devil, as long as you're not doing anything, he don't worry about you. The day you decide to get your life in order, decide to do something in your life, he'll send everything after you, including the kitchen sink. Is there anybody here that's been lied on, hated on, being betrayed, being abandoned, and left for dead? In our text this morning, David and his men had just returned from victory over the Philistines. But there was no celebration. David had become accustomed to celebration. In fact, they even wrote a song about him that caused Saul, who was king at the time, to become a hater. They wrote the song of how Saul killed thousands, but David killed 10,000s. And every time David would come home from war, the women would be out in the street and they would celebrate the fact that they had received victory. Sadly, my brothers and sisters, this is how a lot of brothers return home after a hard day way to work. There's no celebration. But most of us, we go there, we battle every day. And when we come home, our children don't even celebrate us. We're looking for them just to say, but I appreciate you being home. How much you know that your loved one goes out every morning, but there are chances they're not going to return home. It's good to know when you come home from a hard day's work, after dealing with all of those demons on the job, all those demons outside, that somebody shows you some kind of appreciation. So I'm so glad that you're home. I remember my daughter, Destiny, I remember every time that I would come home, she would be on the top of the stairs. And she would shout, "Daddy home, Daddy home." And I loved that so much. I always felt like going outside the door and coming back in. Ladies, let me tell you something. If you have a husband, that brother finds his way home, if you practice celebrate him, you ain't never got to worry about him again. Truth of the matter is that all of us like to be celebrated. All of us like to feel like we're important. Do I have a witness in this house? I know this predicament. I know what it is to ride around the blocks a couple times before I decide to go home because there was no celebration. This is what David came home to. No celebration. I've come to understand that people will hate on you. They'll have issues with you. But will never understand the fires that you had to go through just to get where you are. See, a lot of people see your glory, but they don't know your story. They see what God has accomplished through you, the things that you are being able to obtain, but no one knows the cost of your alabaster box. See, sometimes we take people for granted, believing that because they have some things in life, because they may have a good marriage, because they may have a nice house, that they ain't been through nothing. But let me tell you something, newsflash, some of us done been to hell and back. Some of us only standing because of the grace of God that's on our life. Do I have a church in this house today? Some of us, because of the fire that we've been through, we still smell like smoke. Can I tell somebody this morning that the road to success is not paved? That's right, my brothers and sisters, you got to go through some stuff. Some of these things that we go through will bring us to our knees because we didn't have the strength to stand up. Do I have a church? People see our public victories, but they have no clue about our private failures. So many of us, my brothers and sisters, could tell you what hell feels like because we've been there a couple of times. Do I have a witness in this house? I know what it is to feel like committing suicide. I know what it is to feel like leaving planet Earth because I felt that nobody cared. Nobody loved me. Nobody wanted me. I know what it is to feel the pain of my failures. And there was so much for me to deal with. I just thought to myself, maybe it's just better that I just leave planet Earth. But I understand now that sometimes God allows us to go through some stuff to qualify us to get to the next level. If you don't want to get smoky, then can I tell you this morning, don't attempt to accomplish nothing great, or don't attempt to become great. Because anytime you decide that you're going to do something great, you're going to have to go through some things in order to accomplish it. David and his man had just finished fighting the Philistines. They didn't just fight them, but they conquered them. It's one thing, my brothers and sisters, to fight a fight, but it's another thing to have to fight the same fight over and over again. See, my brothers, in case you didn't know, this was not the first time that David fought the Philistine. In fact, the victory over the Philistine, you all remember him, Big Goliath? It was the victory over this Philistine giant that qualified David for the next level. Are you with me still? Sometimes we feel that you're the only one that got to fight. Every last one of us that's on planet Earth that's living in this world, we're going to have to fight sometime. We fight an enemy that don't ease up. We fight an enemy that's consistent. Every morning you wake up, the enemy is waiting on you. And sometimes he brings the same things that we have had to deal with over and over. But every now and then he'll come out of nowhere and he'll bring a fight that we don't have no clue about. Some of us, my brothers and sisters, have to fight just to maintain our sanity, just for us not to go under and go crazy. See, I don't know, but some of y'all out there, y'all too cute this morning. I believe that none of y'all have to go through nothing. Ain't nobody never left you in a time when you felt like you needed them good. Ain't nobody never forsake you. Ain't nobody never hated on you. Nobody never lied to you. Anybody in this house know what it feels like to be forsaken? See, sometimes if you're not careful, you'll believe that it's people But can I remind you this morning, according to the book of Ephesians chapter 5, it says that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against spiritual wickedness, against the evil forces of darkness in high places. In other words, in case nobody never told you, you're fighting the living devil. See, the Philistines that David those fought, they were ones who would bring the fight to you. You didn't have to worry about their fight. There was them people that would stand up and say, look, if we want to fight you, say it's your best. But they were not the type of people that you look forward to fighting, because they was tenacious. They were the ones that you wanted to avoid. You know, there were some people, when some of y'all was in school, you would fight them at a split moment. But there were some people that you didn't even want to step to, because even though you would beat them, you were come out of that markup, clawed up. Why? Because they wasn't going to drop down. They was going to stand their ground. Is there anybody here today? In fact, the Philistines were so tenacious that even when God brought the children of Israel out of Egypt, he took them around the Philistines, because he knew if they'd gone through the land of the Philistines, they was going to be too tired for the journey, because they was going to bring a fight to them. The word of God said that David and his men were tired. They were tired. Have you ever been tired of fighting? Have you ever been tired of fighting for your relationship? Fighting for your sanity? Have you ever been so tired that you tell people, but I'm tired fighting, I can't do this no more. I can't handle this no more. Have you ever been to that place in your life where you just felt like throwing in the towel because you was too tired of fighting? Fighting for your marriage, fighting for your job, fighting for your life, fighting for your sanity. Every time you turn around, there's another fight. And you're just tired. David and his men were tired. See, it's one thing to fight a straight up enemy, somebody that you know that you're fighting. But it's another thing when you got to fight some sneaky people. These people that will jump you from your back. These people that you don't even realize that you had an issue with. See, while David was fighting these Philistines, you had this next group of sneaky people called the Amalekites. Have you ever had to deal with an enemy that you hit you so hard because you didn't see it coming? David does reach home. They wasn't even expecting this. All they came home to was smoke. The wives and the children gone. They didn't have nothing left. I believe that we've come to our place in our lives that when we find ourselves in these situations, because the church and everybody else have taught us that we got to praise our way through. That's all we do. We praise. We don't do nothing else. We start praying, praising, hoping, and wishing that things will get better. But can I tell you this morning that there's nothing wrong with praising, praying, wishing, and hoping, but God would never do for you what you are capable of doing for yourself. The Bible said there's a time and a season for what? Everything. There's a time to pray. There's a time to praise. There's a time to wish and a time to hope. But it's also a time to pursue. We know David as a praiser, but we also know him as a warrior. See, my brothers and sisters, what I found, people take a different look at us when we're inside the church. Because they believe that we're soft, we're little sissies, that we wouldn't bring the fight to them. Because the church has told us that fighting is wrong. But the Bible tells me something different. The Bible tells me that everybody that had something had to fight for what they want. They didn't sit down and just pray and praise. They understand that there was a time for that, but there was also a time to fight. There's a time to pray, a time to praise, and a time to wish and hope. But my brothers and sisters, make no mistake, there's a time to fight. Why? Because the devil ain't gonna hand nothing back over to you. Some of you right now, the devil has stolen so much things from you, even down to your happiness. Some of y'all right now battling with sickness because the devil has stolen your health, stolen your marriage. But if you want something in life, you better learn how to fight fit. You got to fight for your family. You think that devil going to allow you to have a good family? No, you got to fight. You got to fight for your marriage. You got to fight for your relationship. Fight for your children. Fight for your home. Fight for your job. Fight for your finances. Fight for your health. Fight for your sanity. Fight for your life. You got to fight. Touch your neighbor and say, you got to get in the fight. You really think that you're going to have a peace of mind while you're on the planet Earth where a devil exists? You better learn how to fight. The kingdom of God, according to the scriptures, suffered violence, and the violent take it by force. Religion today is creating too much disease. Bunch of people were sitting down waiting on the by and by, the sweet by and by, allowing the devil to come up to them and just whop them up and don't fight back. Remember this day I was in school in Richland Primary. My old man told me, God bless his soul, I don't want y'all to fight. If I hear when y'all fighting, then I'm going to cut your hip. And anybody would know, my old man, when you get your hip cut, you got a good hip cut. I saw a video going on Facebook the other day, but this mother would beat this child. That's a joke to what my daddy used to do. If he started with the belt, by the time he finished, his fist can be all you. I remember one time my daddy was beating me with his rubber hose. I just turned 18. So I decided now that I too big for beating. So when he gone to latch out of me, I grabbed the hose. I said, Daddy, I's a man now. Oh, Daddy said, oh, you's man, eh? Daddy draw back and he throw one punch and it landed right into the middle of my chest. That hurt so hard. I don't know how my chest did it, but my chest took a U-turn and it wrapped his hand around the fist. My chest held the fist because I was afraid that he was going to pull it back and put a next one on me. Deep down, with everything I could muster out, I said, Daddy, I just saw it. He said, a little while ago, you was man. Boom! But my daddy told us to don't fight. And we was afraid to fight. And because of this, he had some bullies inside the school. Because they know that I wasn't going to fight. Anytime they wanted to show themselves off, they would pick a fight with me. And we used to go to the barber. And the barber in those days, they used to give you the bowl haircut. Anybody know about the bowl haircut? They put the bowl on top of your head and say, what underneath the bowl is yours. But everything out belonged to me, and they used to ball it. So when we came home from the barber, the fellas, them used to, aye. And we couldn't say nothing because he tell us don't fight. But there's one fella inside school. I remember his name up to this day. His name was Kenny. He's a fella had curly hair, bright, and he had this little gold, gray spot in his hair. And he used to have me for chalk every day. But one day I got tired of that. And he came and he played around me on lunchtime, and I slapped him and break off running. He sent message all over the school. There wasn't no internet. know what's up, but everybody in the school know there was going to be a fight after school. 3 o'clock, nobody going out. I was watching the clock on the wall all day, say, oh Lord, can you prolong the time? Don't let 3 o'clock come. Because all these people going to watch me get beat down. Finally, something rose inside me, and I walk out in the schoolyard that day. Everybody waiting to see Reid boy get bust down. But on this particular day, you had some fellas that lived in our area. They was coming from the high school and they was walking through. And I couldn't allow them to see me get marched down like that. How much of y'all know, depending upon who in the audience can determine the level of your fight? And this day, when the fella came up to me and said, yeah, you slap me and run, and I grab him, and I bite his ears, I hold on that ears, and I grind on it. And he started crying like a little girl. Oh, oh, let me go, let me go. From that day, nobody in the school ever bothered with me. You know what they say? That Reid boy crazy. The reason why the devil still making mockery of you, got you on display like you so soft and all that, because you ain't biting back here. You got to learn how to bite back. Tell your neighbor, bite back. The devil play around you. Bite him. The kingdom suffered violence, and violence taken by force. Too much people constantly looking for people to baby them. Want to stroke their ego. And when people go through situations, particularly in the church, get a little cut. Oh, you see, Minister Todd, you see my little cut? What they expecting? Oh, I'm so sorry for you. Come here, let me give you some little, you little toky, little choky, little chuggy. So, we go from Minister Todd, then you go to Pastor Carlos. Pastor, you see my little cut here? Oh, you little sweet little thing, I'm so sorry that you, because that's what Pastor's supposed to do. But in the meantime, we just want to slap you aside here and say, bite back. Church teaching people how to be little sissies. Everybody ain't going to fight your fight for you. God's not going to fight your fight. When God told David to go and pursue, he could have gone before him and pursued for him. But he said, no, you pursue. There's some things you got to do yourself. We got to stop looking for people to stroke our ego and get inside the fight.
The Kingdom Summit, the realest place on the planet, on the planet.
Welcome.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. You gotta come check us out, why, cause the Kingdom Summit, the realest place on the planet, on the planet. Yeah, it's the Kingdom Summit, the realest place on the planet, on the planet. Yeah, yeah. Ha.